I'm your host, Michaeli Lomu, and you're listening to the Voyagers podcast. Welcome to the first episode of the Voyagers podcast. Last year, me and my wife sold everything, moved our family to Tonga so that I could compete in the FIFA World Cup Qualifiers with the Tonga national men's soccer team. In this episode, we answer frequently asked questions about the move, kind of go into a little bit deeper details of how and why we went, how we made the decision. We also talk about different challenges that we were faced with and how we overcame those challenges, as well as our plans for the future. Let us know if you have any questions in the comments. Ofatu. The first question people always ask me is how we made the decision to go, and obviously they don't mean how to buy a plane ticket because most people know how to do that. But what I think they mean is how did we actually decide to do it? What gave us the push? What were the obstacles that we had to overcome? Like I mentioned in several interviews and podcasts that I've done, my wife Cass, when the opportunity came up, she said that I had to do it. I'm like a good husband. I listened and I did what I was told.
Don't put all that pressure on me. I think there was a lot that went into making this an easy decision for us. Michael and I have always said that when an opportunity presents itself, that we will always try our best to take it just because we have no idea what it can lead to. And this opportunity specifically felt like a no-brainer because
it was a natural next step. I've always told people that it was always like the stars were always aligned. There was so many things that led up to that point, to the opportunity, that making the step was easy.
Yeah, well, and I think that's what it was, because in a lot of Michaeli's videos, he says how we sold everything and moved to Tonga, but that's clickbait. Like, the truth is, we had already been selling everything because we had sold our pottery studio earlier that last year, and we decided that we were going to move out to Texas already to be closer to my parents. And so we were already in the process of purging our life, basically, because we were going to have to fit into, 2 bedrooms in my parents' house. And we also just really, I think, needed a cleanse. We just both had felt that. That's why we sold our pottery studio. We were just ready for something new. So then when the opportunity came to go to Tonga, when Michaeli first even came to talk to me about it and said, hey, I saw his Facebook post, they're looking for players, instantly, yes, I was like, you have to do it, because there was really no reason not to. We didn't have jobs lined up for us once we got to Texas, so it wasn't like there was any career hiccups. We had the finances to support us for a while we went and explored this. We had the support. I knew we would have the support from our family. And yeah, so it felt like, why would you not? And also, Michaeli loves playing soccer, so that's I think where yeah. Yeah, he liked playing soccer, and it was like an opportunity to play soccer in a big way that he, a lot of people would dream of that opportunity. So yeah, it was like, why would you not do it? But it was funny because a lot of people actually said to him after he got the call, or the email, I guess it was an email that said, yes, come to Tonga, we want you to play with us. We talked to, he called his dad, I think, and a few other people, and instantly everyone, their first thing they said was, what did your wife say?
You gotta convince her.
No, you gotta convince your wife. And he was like,
I was like, oh no, she already,
yeah,
she was more on board with this, more so than I was. I knew how difficult it was going to be. I knew I needed to lose weight. I knew I needed to get back in shape, and that was going to be freaking hard. But my wife, Cass, was like, of course, you're going to do that, right?
To be honest, I didn't think about how much weight you'd have to shed or how fast you'd have to get. And in my head, it's like, you've conditioned and played soccer before, so just do it again. The fact that you're older now and haven't played for several years didn't really register. In my head, you've always played soccer, so just start conditioning. I also think too that I didn't think about how difficult it was going to be. It just sounded really fun. We had been to Tonga before, loved it, and under very different circumstances, but loved it. And yeah, Michaeli liked playing. I don't know. It was a FIFA.
Well, those are the first thoughts in my head. Was like, oh my gosh, I have to Like, I've got a lot of work to do. I'm not ready to jump into like 90 minutes of a World Cup qualifier game, and I'm not even close. That's where I was when I got that email. And the first people that I called, I didn't even call my dad. I called my coach. I called Andy. I was like, hey, like, I got this opportunity. Like, can you train me?
I need help. Yeah.
And so after I called him, then I called my dad. But like, I knew I needed to get in shape, and I knew how difficult it was going to be. And so it was a really scary decision to make.
And he only had like a month.
Based on that.
Yeah, he only had like a month before they did like the testing and all of that.
Yeah,
maybe it was 2 months that you
I didn't
had.
necessarily know. I just thought I would get there and then I'd have a tryout and I'd be on the team or not.
Yeah.
That's as far as I knew up until then. But once I got there, I learned that I had like, I think 6 weeks at that time to get into shape. Once I was there.
Once you were there. And I think that also is part of it, because a lot of people ask us a lot of questions about how we did it, and I think that we didn't necessarily ask as many questions, and maybe that's why we did it. Because we knew that the stars were aligned, the opportunity was there. There was really no reason to say no, other than maybe it would have been a little bit more financially responsible not to do it. But at the same time, that's like not something that we look back and regret financially.
No, absolutely not. It was the opportunity of a lifetime, and I'm glad that we took it. I'm glad that we spent the money that we did to be there and to have those experiences and to meet the people that we met. And I do think that there's been a lot of opportunities and blessings ever since we've done it that have since paid back, not necessarily monetarily.
Going into it, honestly, we didn't have a lot of expectations.
Very much didn't know what to expect exactly. I did think, like, I did believe in myself and think that I could do it, that I could lose the weight, that I could get fast enough to play with those guys. Looking back now, I feel like I didn't do good enough in that department, and that's why obviously I didn't play. And so that's really hard. But even just getting to be there was still awesome. But yeah, like, my expectations were pretty low. Like, I knew where I was coming from, and I knew where they were at. Like,
well, you didn't know, though. You didn't know exactly where they were at.
Exactly, no.
Well, Mike Kelly had found, after we knew he was going, we did try and do as much research as possible on the team. But I think, like many other people online, came to realize there wasn't a lot on the team. I think that's why your account did, do so well, especially during that time, because a lot of people really didn't know much about Oceania football, but also specifically Tonga. There wasn't a ton of information out there about it.
Yeah, and that is one thing that I want to do with this podcast, is interview people that are on like other teams that are in the bottom like rankings of FIFA. I think that'd be really cool. Just because people they have no idea about like what's going on and what it takes to create a national team in all of these tiny little countries that are around the world.
A lot of people really couldn't find anything, and we also couldn't find anything. Mike Kelly found one video of a game that they had played a year prior, which kind of gave us a little bit of an insight to how skilled the team was. But even then, Mike Kelly, one of the first things he told me after his first practice was that they were a lot faster than he thought. He was like, these guys are really fast. And so I think there was some surprises in that sense. But honestly, I think my expectations started out a little bit unreasonable. Mike Kelly actually, though, said that they were pretty generous. I told him that I needed a place of our own to stay, and a air conditioning and a washer. I was willing to hang my clothes, but I needed a washer. And honestly, he did deliver on most of those things to some degree. But I do think I kind of, like, at first, I think I started off a little bit unreasonable, and then once he was there, I started to kind of adjust my expectations based off of what he was telling me. Mike Kelly had to go first because our daughters didn't have passports, our youngest. The expectations were that he would go, he would set everything up for us all to come. I also expected that we all had to go. That was something that him and I talked about later. I was under the assumption that this, and I don't know why, but I was under the assumption that this decision would make us have to move to Tonga. Like I thought that we obviously we're moving to Tonga, duh. But then my Kelly told me like 2 weeks ago that yeah, we didn't have to do that. That wasn't required. He could have just gone. But in my head at the time when they were like, yeah, come to Tonga, I was like, we're coming. and so I thought that we like that was something we had to do. But yeah, anyways, so my Kelly went first, and he was supposed to kind of set things up for us to come, and then once the girls their passports came, then we left like 2 weeks after that. My list did start to I got a little bit more realistic. Some things that we didn't expect was how hard it was going to be to find somewhere to rent or to live.
Well, the only places I looked that I could like actually find any progress on was on Facebook. And yeah, everyone that was renting like apartments was like a 1 bedroom, like with a sink and a toilet. And yeah, it would be like, I don't know, $2,000 a month or something. It was a lot.
Yeah, they'd be like 2,000 pangas, and we were like, that's crazy. Like, that's worse than rent in, like, Utah.
I expected it to be a lot easier to find at least somewhere to live that was relatively cheap. But yeah, it was not that.
No, it was really hard. Yeah, finding just even, like, properties available was really difficult. And even just, like, they don't really have apartment complexes. I think we may have seen one apartment complex.
There was a couple in town.
I was going to say, I think that in town there was a few, but there was one, I think, being built, or a hotel. I couldn't really tell. But also, town was not necessarily the direction that we would want to live. And that was another thing, too, is when my Kelly got there, we realized how important it was to live near people that you know. And we did want to live near family for that reason as well. We didn't want to just live in a random village because there's safety issues, and we have young, like, little girls, so we wanted to make sure that we were safe. At first, I really did want our own place, but I did realize very quickly, like the first night that I got there, I was very grateful that we did end up living with family for that reason as well. I felt safer. I also really loved having the support of my Kelly's aunts. My girls were immediately getting just completely, like, I don't even know what the word is, but ate up by bugs. Like, no, instant. Yeah, because this is so relevant. Like
eaten by bugs.
As soon as we got there, they were being demolished by bugs. And had bites everywhere. And Honey, one of her bites actually got really bad. And his aunts were very, like, quick to know exactly what to do, how to take care of it. And I didn't know. So I was really grateful because I had just instantly kind of had this village of support, which came in handy when my Kelly then left. So I was really grateful that we lived with family. I felt safer for living with family, but that was something we didn't expect. We didn't expect housing to be as difficult as it was, but it was actually really difficult.
Another thing we didn't expect was the schedule of events that happened and like how we planned everything. Like we planned pretty poorly in hindsight, and getting you guys there, getting me there, like me getting there was fine. I had 6 weeks and that was plenty of time to like get in shape and be able to run kind of at the same pace as the other guys. But once you guys got there, I was like, they got there literally on the second day of camp.
It's funny because I do think that we did try really hard to plan ahead, and we actually did plan fairly well for the most part. I think with what knowledge we knew, there was a lot of miscommunication and lack of communication with Tonga, which was also kind of expected because of how far away and like, but it was like prior to my Kelly going, we really didn't know what to expect. Once he got there and he was able to ask some questions, we did come with a pretty good plan. We knew when they were going to Samoa, what days they were going to be in Samoa, like the days that they were leaving. But then we found out that they didn't really have a final roster planned, so we couldn't buy our tickets to Samoa yet because we weren't sure if he was even necessarily going to go. And that was another thing where we were like, wait, so they called you out there, but then you might not go, like, or you might go. We were really unsure.
Yeah, I did one day of camp, I slept there, and then we did another day of camp, and then I was supposed to go get you guys later that night and then come back to camp. I think prior to camp, I didn't know that we were supposed to like be sleeping there.
Yeah.
I didn't even know the like reality of that either. And so like that was a shock.
Sleeping there, eating there.
Yeah, they started pulling out beds and I was like, crap, like we're gonna have to sleep here, aren't we? Like I knew camp was coming and I knew camp was happening like the week before we went to Samoa, but I didn't know what that looked like, and no one would tell me like what that looked like. And I don't think I asked the right questions, but honestly I didn't know what I needed to ask. So yeah, when camp happened, they started pulling out beds and I was like, oh, guess we're sleeping here. And then I just texted you and I was like, hey, like I'm sleeping here, I guess. And so
yeah, which ended up being kind of a lot because, like I said, so it's kind of crazy. Even just arriving was a whole thing. I'm sure you guys can imagine, and if not, we'll drop some pictures. But if you could just imagine me and my friend Britt with 3 like young girls, and then like a shit ton of bags, just to like, and then to travel for 2 days, lugging those bags around to the point where we like both have bruises up our arms from like backpacking like pack mules through airports like through LAX was ridiculous. That was just straight up ridiculous. But like we were so exhausted and we finally get there. We finally get to Tonga, but our bags didn't. Like none of our bags did. So it was also my birthday. It was both my birthdays. So because it was the day before was not my birthday, but then it was my birthday in Tonga. So like while we were traveling, it was not my birthday, but then I'm making this way more complicated. I had 2 birthdays and both of them were spent traveling. But one of my because when I got to Tonga, my birthday had passed. So yeah. I think I did have a birthday in Fiji for a minute.
It was your birthday in Fiji, and then you came at the end of your birthday to Tonga, but then...
It was my birthday.
By the next day you woke up, it was still your birthday in the U.S.
In the U.S., yes, that's right. Yeah. So yeah, it was my birthday, and it was crazy. And then it was so funny because we went out to the car, and I was already pissed off from the whole situation. And then I went to the wrong side of the door because we were in Tonga and we drive on the left side now. And my Kelly was like, oh, you driving? And I don't know why, but that just like really pissed me off because it was like, you're already here and you don't even know what you're doing. And so then I was like, oh, so I went back around to the other side of the car, got in the car. And then he was like, I got you a cupcake. And I was holding this cupcake the whole drive home, which was about 45 minutes. And I kept feeling like something was like tickling me or like there was something going on. The whole thing is covered in ants. The whole cupcake was covered in ants. I'm covered in ants. And then we weren't covered in ants. I was covered in ants.
There was ants on the cupcake.
They were on my hand. They were everywhere. They were everywhere. But then we got to the house and it was so funny because they're like the roosters were already awake and Honey was...
The roosters didn't go to sleep.
The roosters for sure sleep.
Well, maybe like half and half. Some of them sleep, but they're always
going off. Well, anyways, the roosters were going off, and the girls were like, they had just had the craziest. Like I don't think they were expecting the drive home at all because they were like in the back of a van sitting on a picnic bench, and they were kind of like, where the heck are we? And then we get to the house, and then Honey comes over and was like, Mom, we've got to get out of here. Mom, we got to go. Someone's yelling. And just like whispering to me. Yeah, she's like, someone is screaming. We gotta go. And was just, you could tell that these girls were like, where the heck are we? And
the house was all dark.
The house was all dark. We were trying to calm everyone down. We're like, just get it, like just lay down. Like we'll figure it out in the morning. We wake up.
Lay in this bed. Here we go.
Yeah, we wake up. Instant chaos too because we have to get my Kelly to soccer. Honey introduced herself to the family by letting them know that their car was really scary and that there was someone screaming.
Honey is one of our daughters.
Yes, Honey is one of our daughters. So it's just really funny. Maya and Jojo, I feel like they both handled it pretty well for the most part. I think they were definitely less vocal about it, but I think they were excited once they met the cousins. Once they met the cousins, and honestly, same with Honey. Once they met the cousins, all was forgotten.
And they just played.
Yeah, but it was chaos once we even like got there, and that's kind of a tangent, but yeah, so we planned it kind of poorly because then instantly my Kelly had to go back to camp, and he was gone for a week, and he was staying at camp, and I would go and then he got permission because they didn't really do anything in the middle of the day, and they did have permission to leave to go to work in the middle of the day. So I did go and pick him up in the mornings, and he'd come hang out with us for a few hours, and then he'd have to go back to camp. But that was a lot. And then, do you want to tell them what happened next?
I don't know what you're referring to. Oh, the leaving part.
And then the end of camp. And then camp ended. So camp was supposed to end on the schedule that they sent out. Camp ended on Friday.
It was supposed to be done on Friday.
It was supposed to be done Friday. Then all of a sudden, but then Saturday there was games.
Yeah.
And so that made sense. That was fine.
I thought we'd still go home and get to sleep at home and then come back for the games and then go back home at the end of the games on Saturday.
But that wasn't,
But the expectation was that I was supposed to be there all weekend.
All the meals with the team, everything with everything was supposed to be with the team.
Even all the way through Sunday.
Yeah.
Because we were supposed to go to church together and then we were going to the beach.
And that was
afterwards.
Maya's birthday.
And that was our daughter's birthday. And that was a really big deal for me because I wanted to be there with my family on my daughter's birthday because obviously.
And we had planned a birthday party at the house with all of our family and bought birthday cake.
Yeah, and that was a whole mess. But then, we on that Sunday we went to church, and I don't remember when I told you.
And this is what actually one of those funny videos that my Kelly made is actually about, because of the time frame from camp. Everyone said we're meeting at the association at 9, church starts at 10. We were like, okay, perfect. Met at the association at 9. We drove over to the church. It's 9:30, and we're sitting there, and it's almost.
And the church is empty.
The church is empty.
Not completely empty,
but
there were no patrons. It was just the people that worked.
And the
there.
princess was supposed to be there.
Yeah.
So we assumed that a lot of people were coming, and also all of the leaders of the Pacific were supposed to be there. Yeah. And so we thought that it's 9:45. No, the chapel it's completely empty, and the girls were getting kind of antsy. And so I texted Mike Kelly and I was like, "What time does this start?" And he asked, and then he asked someone, and they were like, 12 or something. It
started at 11.
At 11, yeah, maybe that was maybe
I think 11:30.
11:30. Anyways, it was a whole nother hour and a half or something that we were gonna have to sit there. So
and we were just sitting there, literally just
sitting
in a church pew. We were all of us.
And also they were wooden church pews, very uncomfortable. And I just knew that there was no way in hell that I was going to be able to keep the girls sane for that amount of time. And then also it was televised, and I didn't want to be the person who I didn't want to be the person to disrupt it. So we just decided that we were going to bounce, and we broke every rule, and we went to the beach because it was Maya's birthday. And that was fun. We were in our church dresses though, but we went to the beach, and then afterwards we did find the one restaurant that was open on Sunday, because in Tonga on Sunday everything is closed. So we found the one restaurant, and I felt so bad because when we were sitting there, Maya was like, "This is not a very good birthday," because it was just not the restaurant was not her favorite. Anyways, a lot of new things were happening. I felt really bad. She was really happy once it was her birthday party and all of her cousins came over and we had dinner. Everything was forgiven, and it was a really good birthday, but it just started off kind of rough because of that. But anyways, and then the next day, Mike Kelly had to go back to camp, which we were not expecting, but they were like, "Okay, meet back here." He did get to skip dinner on Sunday night, which I think is probably why you got a 3 on family balance on your scorecard, because he did skip dinner because he was like, "I'm not going to miss out on Maya's birthday dinner." And so he did stay the night with us that night, and then Monday morning went back to soccer. He just drove himself because then he was going to come back after to hang out with us. And then
it was going to be done.
Because then it was going to be done. That was the last day of camp. And then there was supposed to be another day, a full day, and then they were going to leave for Fiji.
To Fiji Wednesday.
That's
what we thought.
Yeah. And then Mike Kelly comes home, and what happened, Mike Kelly?
So I had to tell them we were leaving that night.
Yes.
Midnight, we were supposed to all be meeting at the
11
association.
o'clock. at the association.
Yeah, 11 o'clock at the association. We were meeting because we were leaving to Fiji that day.
Yeah, my Kelly came home and we were supposed to have a whole day together before he left, and he came home and he said to me, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can go. And I was like, what are you talking about? We are here. We are doing it. And then he was like, because we leave tonight. And that was a lot. In the moment, that was a lot. And I was not expecting, I don't think I was expecting how hard it was going to be in Tonga without you. 2 weeks after that, my Kelly was gone and Brittany and I were in Tonga by ourselves. And I think that's where our planning was pretty poor. We had the money to buy tickets to go to Samoa, and that was the original plan. We were going to go to Fiji with them. We were going to go to Samoa with them. And that was part of our original plan. So that's why we came when we did, so that we were there for about a week. My Kelly didn't miss our birthdays. And then we were planning on going with them so that we could go to the World Cup qualifiers. But by the time we found out that my Kelly would in fact be going to Samoa, the prices on plane tickets spiked significantly, especially to Samoa. They went up from like $300 to like $800 each. It was crazy.
Yeah, well, they were under $200.
Yeah, when we first checked in June, it was because we were watching them. And I kept telling my Kelly, you need to see if you can, if they can give you any type of information on whether or not you're going to be going, or what the odds are, because we need to buy tickets and I don't want to wait too soon. And they kind of were like, oh yeah, but then by the time they finally were like, yes, your family should buy tickets. Yes, you will come. And they were very generous in telling us before the final list was submitted, but it was too late, which sucked.
Yeah, they were already $1,000 each.
Yeah, and there was just no way. There was no way we could justify spending $8,000 on. I don't even know if it would have been 8,000. There was 5 of us. 4. It was 1,000, but that would have been to Samoa, because we were just gonna cut Fiji out completely and just go to Samoa, and it was gonna be $5,000 or $6,000 to get us there, and that wasn't even including Brittany, and it just was $5,000 or $6,000 that could sustain us in Tonga for several months. So it just didn't make sense for us to spend that money. We tried to pull a Hail Mary and call upon the internet, but that didn't work out.
Yeah, it didn't work.
It's okay though. All is forgiven. But that didn't work out. We weren't able to get enough, which is fine. I thought it was a worthy cause, but other people didn't. But something Mike Kelly did say was this, there will be other opportunities, and I do believe him that there will be other opportunities. But yeah, that was something we did not expect. We didn't expect the timing. Our timing, you're right, was, all things considered, pretty poor.
Yeah, it's bad, I think, altogether. I don't think we really timed anything correctly.
Yeah.
Other than my ticket to go. We probably should have just punched it and bought you guys tickets and got you guys there, and then just gone straight back to the US after that. But that's even more of a hindsight thing. And even saying that, I still really enjoyed our time in Tonga after the qualifiers though. So it's fine.
I do think
it's all good.
I don't think we really knew what to expect. I do think we did have some expectations. Like I said, it was a lot harder to find housing. Another thing we didn't expect was how difficult it was going to be for you to get a car. People were trying to sell cars that really we had no confidence in their ability to move for $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. It was crazy. But yeah, we didn't realize how difficult it was going to be to get a car. It took Mike Kelly a while before he got a car, and then even when he did, we called it roly-poly, because that thing just it rolled. And that was exactly what we needed, but it was also ant infested and the windows did not stay up, and when it rained, it actually had this feature where it would rain inside the car as well, which was really fun.
It's really cool.
It was really cool. You could enjoy the rain outside and then inside as well. So but we were so grateful because Mike Kelly is his uncle was able to hook us up with that, and all things considered, it was great. It got us around the island just as we needed, which was
You can
awesome.
either cry in the storm or dance in the rain.
We definitely danced in that rain.
In the rain.
We drove in that rain. I don't think we had a ton of expectations going into it, but I do think we did have some. And I don't think that we were ever left disappointed, other than us not being able to go to Samoa. That was really disappointing. And also, okay, we were left disappointed. Also, you leaving, that was like kind of disappointing. But once you came back, things were a lot better.
Things were good, and it was fun, and I played for Vaitungo,
and that was great.
That was really fun.
He almost left again, which was like PTSD. Like, it was just, that was crazy.
That was crazy. Except I didn't. Like, there was no way.
Yeah.
Like, they almost gave me a job that could, where I would be going to visit the other islands around in, like, the Tongan archipelago, and we would be, like, delivering soccer balls and doing, like, soccer programs.
It was for their
Just
like Play program.
Yeah, it was a cool program that they still do, and one of our friends actually became the president of the Just Play program there that we really like, and so it would have been a really good organization to work for, but...
And a great opportunity.
It was... Yeah, they wanted me to come on a two-week excursion trip thing.
And he had only been home for about a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I said no. I was like, I can't leave. I'm sorry. Like.
Yeah. So the 2 weeks that Mike Kelly was in Fiji and Samoa, Brittany and I just don't really even talk about it. And we did a podcast episode where we talked to her about her experience. As soon as Mike Kelly left, we all got sick. Like, the day after, we all got sick. Some of us were adjusting, our stomachs were adjusting. I was very ill, lost my voice. I had my first period on the island while Mike Kelly was gone. Brittany got sick, and it just was like one thing after another. We were on this new island. We really didn't know our way around yet, was another thing. We were kind of nervous to drive around too much. There was one day where JoJo, one of our daughters, she has really bad asthma. There was one day where her oxygen was dropping quite a bit, so I needed to go into town to see if I could find a nebulizer, because I was dumb and I plugged my nebulizer into the plug that I wasn't supposed to, and I shorted it instantly, and so I had to go into town to try and see if I could find a new one. She was struggling to breathe, popped a tire on the way. Brittany got scammed. She was mad. Like, it was just one thing after another, and it was like every day was just a new thing. And Mike Kelly wasn't there long enough, and he didn't have the freedom when he was there to really show us around. And so we were really just kind of, it felt like, thrown into this like situation where we just were trying to figure it out. And yeah, so it was really hard. And then he came home and things were better. And then, like, a week later, they approached him and they were like, hey, want to go to Va'u for 2 weeks and some of the other outer islands? And just instantly I was like, and that was another, I went to go take the girls to the bathroom. We went to the association. He went to go talk to Just Play because they wanted to speak with him. And I went to go take the girls to the bathroom, and I come back and they were like, so yeah, now you just have to tell your wife. And then I was like, tell me what? And they're like, we want to offer him a job. And I was like, that's great, thank you. And then they were like, and he's leaving for 2 weeks. And I was like, what? What? And so, yeah, I felt like every time I left you alone for 2 seconds, you were off on not that you were trying to leave, but they were trying to take you places. I'm like, I thought we were playing soccer in Tonga. This island. But we had a really good time after that. We got our residency. Mm-hmm. We really loved going, like, we found things that we really loved doing out there.
Yeah, bakeries and restaurants.
We found bakeries, restaurants that we really loved. We
played
found
soccer
beaches.
On Saturdays. I played soccer and our kids played soccer.
Yeah.
It was really fun. We did photo shoots and all the...
We made a lot of friends, which was really fun. I feel like everywhere we went, we made friends because everyone was like just obsessed with our kids. Yeah. And so everywhere we'd go, people wanted to talk to us, and we ended up making some really good friends. The lady that owned the corner shop near the house that we lived at, she was like helping me learn how to count in Tongan, and would always like take extra effort to teach me because she really she loved the girls, but she also just like knew that I was trying. So I really appreciated that.
Yeah, and we got to spend a lot of time with family that we've
never really met
before, other than that one time that we went to Tonga with, like, earlier, like 5 years ago. But Yeah, it was really great just like spending a lot of time with them because, yeah, honestly, before 5 years ago, I didn't even know that they existed.
Yeah. Another thing we didn't expect was how difficult it was going to be to get a job. And also how limited the jobs are on the island and how limited the pay is.
And so that was really, really awesome and definitely something that like we'll always appreciate.
Well, and it also like makes us want like, and we know, and I think that's another question a lot of people have for us is like, when are we going back? Are we going back? We did apply for residency, and I think that's what maybe we should talk about next, is like kind of what happened. So we did apply for residency like immediately so my Kelly got back from Samoa, and by the time he got back from Samoa, our visitor visas were expiring. My Kelly is now a citizen of Tonga. He was able to get citizenship through playing for the national team. And so we were able to very easily apply for residency. It was honestly like $100 or something for all of us to apply for residency. And so we did do that, so that we are able to stay. It's something you do have to apply for annually. So if we do go back, depending on when, we'd probably have to do that again. But it wasn't very difficult.
It expires in August, but
yeah. But we did that. We did have full intentions of staying there at least a year. We said that we were going to stay there for at least a year.
yeah, there was plans for me to work with TFA in Tonga. But yeah, like before we even went to the World Cup qualifiers, like they kept saying like, oh, we want you to come work with us. Like you can do a lot of good things for us, and I was like, yeah, I can. So like, let's get this happening. And they're like, oh yeah, like after we get back from the World Cup campaign, like we'll talk about it. And so we get back, and then I'm like, hey, like job, can we have a job? And they're like, yeah, we have to talk to somebody. We have to talk to this person and talk to this person, and every week
it had to get approved, and then someone was in Fiji who needed to approve it, and then it was like, oh well, could you put together an offer letter of like what you can offer to us, and also how much you want to be paid.
Yeah, and like what you're asking for. And so I did that, and then we were just waiting, and all this time that we were waiting, we were just running out of money.
We were still living on savings. We did look for other avenues and ways to make money, but nothing. Because the other thing too is we didn't want to be like stuck in Tonga. We do have a lot of family in the US. One of the reasons why we moved to Texas was because we did want to help my parents. My mom has health issues, so we did want to be available to them. We wanted to be able to fly home to the US if we needed to, and we realized that if we ran out of money in Tonga, it would be pretty hard to rebuild in Tonga financially to the point where we'd be able to fly back and visit the US often enough for us.
And so after like so many weeks of waiting, like I finally went back, and I was like, okay, like if they tell me one more week, one more time, like
we're going home.
We're probably just going to go home. Like this isn't going to work out because we're running out of money. And so I went there, I talked to them, and they're like, oh yeah, next week we're going to have a meeting and we're going to talk about it. I'm like, okay, like that sucks. And so on the drive away from there, I was like really contemplating it. And I was like, no, like I need to take care of my family. Like this isn't going to work out. We're just going to go home. So I wrote an email. We had opportunities that were presenting itself here in the States if we had chose to move back. And so we just decided to come back and pursue those opportunities instead.
We also, Mike Kelly also talked to TFA, and I think even just like in conversation with us, we did realize too that honestly we were probably more valuable to TFA back in the US just because we have connections, we have contacts and people in the US that the TFA can use for sponsor, like different things. Something that while we were out there, because we did bring supplies, I felt like every single Saturday when we would go down to TFA, someone would approach us and say, hey, Mike Kelly, or like, hey, Cassidy, could you help us get cleats, or could you help, my team get this, could you help this? And Mike Kelly and I would say all the time, like, it's so frustrating because, like, yes, I absolutely could, but not from here, like not from Tonga, because it was really hard. But if we were in the US, one, we'd have more access. It's a lot easier to make money in the US. And that was something we also weren't expecting about Tonga, is how difficult it was to make money in Tonga. It was actually very difficult to make money in Tonga. And so, and honestly too, a lot of people who do make a good amount of money don't typically usually make it in Tonga. Like my Kelly's aunt, his aunts, they will make tapa and then they will sell it in New Zealand or sell it in Australia, and that's how they make money. So yeah, making money in Tonga, we were not expecting how difficult that was going to be. But in the US, it's a lot easier. And so it was like if we were in the US, then we could not only round up these resources that they need, but we would also have the ability to, find the money to finance getting them to the island. And that's what we did. That's kind of what we did the first, when we first got there. We brought a lot of supplies, but it's like it's hard to do that when we're in Tonga. So then we were like, you know what? I think we might just be more useful not in Tonga. And then my Kelly did talk to the head coach and some other TFA. I don't even know. Who did you talk to? He talked to Khalifi and
the president of the organization, and then just a higher up.
And he kind of told them how we were talking about going back to the U.S. and of some of the opportunities that were in the U.S. as well as our abilities to help in the U.S. And they were way more excited about that than they were my Kelly actually staying to work at TFA.
Yeah, and so we just packed up and went home. But yeah, now we're looking forward to like a lot of the opportunities that are happening here. We've been able to get several sponsors for the Tonga men's team, for them to be coming to the U.S.
They have the U.S. tour that's this summer. We are still looking for more sponsors, if anyone has any leads on that.
And then we're starting our UPSL team. And then we do have one player lined up to be coming to the UPSL. That is definitely still happening. We've gotten our funding to make everything happen. Our jerseys are set to be printed. We just need a team, and we'll be holding tryouts sometime in the summer. All the details haven't been worked out yet, but it's really exciting because we do have a player from Tonga coming to come play with us, and that's really cool, and something that like all of us can look forward to. So
I think too, a lot of people want to know whether or not we will go back to Tonga, and I do think that the answer is yes. We just don't really know exactly when.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably not to stay, but we're definitely going to be visiting. We're definitely going to be in touch with the organization. We were discussing in emails that I could even make a delivery to Tonga in the next couple months, but that didn't happen, so I'm not going. But
one thing we did both feel after that experience of living in Tonga is Tonga did become like a home to us. And so we do know that like we will be there again. We will be traveling there, I think, more often than we were before. I think it's higher up on the priority list than it was, after our last trip. Because the last time when we went 5 years ago for the family reunion, it was like, oh yeah, one day we'll go to Tonga again. But now it feels like a second or third home. I feel like we have a lot of homes now, which has also been a beautiful part of kind of the journey we've been on over the last year. Is we have found home in a lot of different places, and one of those places is Tonga. And I do think that because of the connections that we made with the family out there, like I absolutely want to go again. I don't want to wait till all of the cousins are adults and don't remember us. I don't want our girls to miss out on those relationships or anything.
Yeah, it's cool because it's like the true essence of like being a Voyager and traveling everywhere and finding home in different places, and like we're really doing it.
Yeah, we are really doing it, and I think it's kind of hard because we don't really know exactly what that is, but that's just kind of how we roll. We don't really know what's coming next, but we know something is, and we can feel that, and we always try to just trust in. I don't know. I feel like I'm going to be a hypocrite for saying this because I also stress. Don't get me wrong. I stress all the time, but I think we also do just like know in our hearts that like it's all for something and it'll work out.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all we can ever do. But before we end the episode, Cass, is there anything that you would have done differently, or would would you have not even done it at all?
I absolutely still would have done it. I do think that, like you said earlier, in hindsight, I think I would have tried to go out to Tonga earlier, just because you were out there for like 6 weeks hanging out, and we could have used that time to acclimate and prepare ourselves for the 2 weeks that you were then gone. I think that I would do it again. And there's not a lot that I would change, because there's not a lot that like we could have changed. Obviously, would have loved to have gone to Samoa, but there was also lessons learned, and I feel like there was a lot of character building that happened because I was not able to go to Samoa. Something that I don't know why I would share this on here, but I guess I will, because we're just gonna be too personal. But yeah, I really struggled. I kind of have had a history of really struggling to get out of bed in the morning, and not really just my mental health. And I feel like even though those 2 weeks were really, really hard, it really built my confidence as a mom and my ability to take care of my kids in a very non ideal situation. And I had to learn to like adapt, and so I feel like it was very character building, as difficult as it was. And I am a firm believer that everything happens everything happens for a reason. Still trying to figure out some of those reasons, but I would do it again.
Awesome.
You?
Yeah, I'd do it again. And I'm planning on doing it again in 2028.
2028.
World Cup qualifiers.
Honestly, I feel like 2028, I would rather just like go for the full year.
Maybe
we'll
see.
That's what I like. I mean, when I say that, we don't know for sure if we'll like. I don't know for sure if we'll ever like live in Tonga full time, but I do think that we'll like spend some solid months in there.
Yeah, I think so too.
Maybe a year or two.
Definitely, we're gonna go wherever the winds take us.
Wherever the sails take us.
Wherever the sails take us.
That's right.
Thank you for being on the podcast.
Yes, if you guys have any questions, drop them in the comment box below.
Yeah, like and subscribe to our podcast, please, and our YouTube. We'll have all the links down below.
We did an episode with my friend Britt, who came with us. That will be up next, so you have that to look forward to.
Yep, and if you, like she said, if you have any other questions about our UPSL team, Voyagers FC, or just us in general about our story and what we did, let us know. You can email us, shoot us a DM, whatever you want. But yeah, thanks for listening, guys.
Do you think that was good?
Yeah.